Graphic design is an important tool for communicating information to readers quickly and effectively. To describe the basic principles of graphic design, I've created 3 categories: text, organization, and color. Let's start with text. Text is the most basic form of communication in graphic design, so it's important that you get it right. There are a few simple rules that you can follow to make sure your text is easy to read and understand. The first is to use standard fonts like Arial or Times New Roman. These fonts are common and easy to read. Using other, less common fonts can also work well, but it's important to match your font to the information you're presenting. Keep in mind that you should avoid fonts that are difficult to read, like heavy cursive. They could slow down readers or create confusion. You can also use multiple fonts to make information more interesting and engaging. However, different fonts should only be used to separate various elements from each other and should not be mixed within the same element. Next, it's important to make sure you have correct grammar and punctuation. This may seem obvious, but even a simple mistake could confuse a reader and interrupt the flow of your material. Now I'll move on to the next category, organization. Since you spent so much time making your text look nice, you should make sure your readers can follow it too. Proper organization can make the same information significantly easier to read, and there are only a few steps to making a well-organized presentation. Try to avoid unnecessary information that could clutter your work. Clutter can include pictures and graphs or large amounts of text. If information is critical, but it feels like you don't have enough room, it's okay to add an extra page or section. Your readers will thank you. To make sure text is easy to read, ensure that your words follow standard reading directions. For English, this is left to right, top to bottom. Putting text in another order makes it harder to process, so organize it in the way that you would normally read. The next step in organization is to center your subject. Whatever information is most important should be placed in the center of your work so that readers are drawn to it and know to pay attention. Finally, create separation between pieces of information to make them easier to digest. Separation can be created in a variety of ways, including fonts, spacing, bullet points, or any other form of grouping which lets the reader see a division between various pieces of knowledge. Now we'll move on to the final category, color. Using color correctly can make your material more attractive and clean it up in general. One common theme across well-designed projects is the use of lighter colors. This includes pastels or shades of white, although absolute white can be slightly intense. Darker themes can also be effective, but they're less common overall. Lighter themes tend to be preferred because they offer pleasing colors and are easy on the eyes. When using color, it's important to make sure your colors complement each other. When colors don't match, they can look unappealing. One adjustment you should pay attention to while changing color is contrast. If your text is too similar to the background, it may be hard to read. There are many ways which you can make sure this doesn't happen. The easiest is to change the color of the text to something less similar to the background. But if you're happy with the color of the text, there are a few more options. You could add a border or a drop shadow, for instance. You could also add a background behind the text. Finally, the most important aspect of color in graphic design is to be consistent. This relates to the color, the saturation, and the brightness. If your coloration is inconsistent, it could throw off a reader. This doesn't mean you need to use all the same color, however. You could use a similar family of colors which complement each other and be highly effective. Text, organization, and color all interact to make an interesting and informative product. And with that, we've covered the basics of graphic design.